Hi everybody, it's me Jill and welcome to Jill Informed. This is a recap of the Real Housewives of New Jersey, Season 8, Episode 12, Ain't No Misbehaving. The show opens at Envy and Melissa gets her box from Milan and it's like this little... I hope there are more boxes to come because otherwise that was a whole big expensive trip for one tiny box of items. But she pulls out this purse that's kind of a crossbody backpackish kind of, it's a cute little black leather purse, but like that's the only thing we see. So I hope there's more, Melissa. We also see the photo shoot for Teresa's new book. You know, the one where she's doing the tree pose because everyone calls her Tree. You get it. And Siggy shows up to give support, I guess. While Teresa's getting her makeup on, the two of them are talking. Siggy asks her if she talked to Joe yet about, I guess, wanting an apology. And she said, no, I'm going to see him this weekend, though. Siggy said, definitely tell him how you're feeling and ask for an apology. As far as I can understand here, Teresa would like Joe to say, I'm sorry for what I put you and the kids through. He's never apologized for that before. To be quite honest with you, Joe Giudice is not exactly a mental giant. So I don't know how much he even understood about what was going on. I'm sure he knew they were doing something illegal, but I don't think he really had a full grasp on what taxes he was supposed to pay and what they were doing. And I think he knew their financial guy or their accountant, they were doing some shady stuff, but Joe's not much smarter than Teresa. So if you're going to blame him for everything, then Teresa, you need to be accountable for the fact that you just signed whatever was in front of you. I'm not saying they're not guilty. Believe me, I'm saying you're both accountable. Next, we have Frankie's college tour, and it's Dolores and Frank Sr. and Frankie, of course. For the first time, it actually makes sense that Frank Sr. is in the picture because it's his kid too. They're just such a happy little family. It's crazy. I don't know why those two just don't get back together. The whole scene was pretty cute. They only went to one college, but they had a tour and they saw the dorm and everything. Even Frankie Jr. was very cute and sweet about how Dolores was gonna miss him. He told her she could come by whenever she wanted, and it was cute. He gave her a little hug and a kiss on the head, and then he tells his dad he loves him, and his dad told him he loved him. It was just a very little happy family moment in the midst of, housewife craziness. The next scene is at Margaret's house, and her ex-husband Jan comes over. She brings up to him about the kids and how much she misses them and how upset she is that they won't speak to her. And she asks him, do you think that there's a chance for me? Do you think they would ever forgive me? Just to refresh your memory, while she was married to their father, she had an affair with Joe, her current husband, and then left their father for Joe. This I find out on the heels of the fact that their mother divorced their dad and she left. So they've kind of been abandoned by women twice. Anyway, Jan basically tells her that she was a very good mother to his children for many years. And then she made another choice, to leave the family. And then he said, I was bitter, but I got over it. But as far as the kids go, it is what it is. Then he wanted to know if she felt any better. And she's like, not really. And then he says, 'cause I charge a lot for these sessions. Really? 'Cause you're the worst therapist ever. Next, we have Frank Sr. and Dolores walking the dog, and she mentioned something about David being so busy. David apparently delivers babies for high-risk pregnancies. So he gets called in the middle of the night, he works long hours, and he doesn't have a lot of free time, it sounds like, or he doesn't have a lot of time for Dolores. So she's talking about that with who else? Her ex-husband. He said, do you think that he doesn't appreciate you? Because I didn't appreciate you. And I regret that a lot now. Oh my God, you two just do it already. Dolores just says, I don't know. I've got a lot of things to figure out. This is the second half of my life here. When Frankie goes off to college, then I need to figure out what I want to do and who I want to be with. And Frank Sr. says, well, no matter what happens, you'll never be alone because you'll always have me. Oh. It really is cute though. I mean, honestly, if they truly understand that they can't be together again, I just find their friendship to be quite endearing. I'm falling for this like sweet friendship. Next, we have Teresa going to Danielle's house to apologize to her daughters for prostitution whore table flip. Apparently, the older daughter, Christine, doesn't want to see her. She doesn't think people can change. She doesn't like that her mom's hanging out with Teresa now, and she wants nothing to do with her. Now, the younger daughter, Jillian, who was 11 years old at the time of the prostitution whore table flip, is 19 now. And she's the one who's there, and she is willing to hear Teresa out. It's awkward, man. Teresa doesn't exactly know how to apologize. But I give her credit because she mentioned something about never being able to say she was sorry in the past. And now she understands that it's okay to say you're sorry. So, good on her. So she does, so she kind of apologizes. And Jillian talked about how hard it was with kids at school and on the internet and online, things people were saying about them. And I can only imagine how hard it is to be a kid. And with the technology of today, I love it. I love advancements in technology, believe me. But the definite downside to that is that it is empowering all these trolls who want to be mean and say mean things, and they can do it without anyone knowing they did it from the comfort of their own mother's basement. So I do feel sorry for her because I imagine there was probably a lot of stuff being said. And it wasn't the kid's fault. She accepts her apology and all is right with the world. She gives her a hug, and we'll see where that goes, because I don't even believe Teresa and Danielle are going to stay friends for long. Leave a comment below and let me know your prediction on how long Teresa and Danielle will really remain friends. So a lot of this episode has been leading up to the fact that Joe Gorga's restaurant is having their opening night, and he's stressed out and he feels a lot of pressure. He said, whoa, my sister's late and Melissa's late, and Melissa's telling me she doesn't want anything to do with it. She just wants to handle envy and leave the restaurant to him. And he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never ran a restaurant before. Then why did you buy a restaurant without telling anybody? That's on you, pal. You didn't tell your wife. She doesn't have to jump on board. Next, we have a scene with Siggy and her father. Every time her parents are in a scene, I am reminded how much I love them. As crazy and insane as their daughter is, and I don't know if that's their fault or not, they are amazing, and this scene was no different. Here we have her dad, a Holocaust survivor. He's a scholar. He gives speeches, or I don't know if he teaches at a university, I'm not sure. But he gives talks on the Holocaust and the history of Israel, that kind of thing. Siggy tells him about Margaret. Everything up to and including the mention of Hitler's name. She tells him what Margaret said, that Hitler wouldn't have killed me. Does that make him a good person? And her dad looks confused, and he said, what does she mean by that? Think for a second about that. He didn't scream and yell and fly out of his chair and say, how dare she mention his name? He didn't understand what she was trying to say. And that's what he asked. What did she mean by that? Siggy. That's what normal people do. So Siggy replies to him by explaining it very poorly, basically saying she didn't want us to walk in a fashion show that was for two dead boys. Yeah, okay. Her dad said, well, there's people in the world like that. You need to stay away from her. Because he didn't get the story. I wonder how he would have replied if Siggy would have said, because Kim D has said and done some horrible things to those ladies, they felt like Dolores and I were kind of betraying them, or that we didn't have their back by walking in her show. And I said, Kim D's never done anything bad to me. And Margaret said, well, Hitler wouldn't have killed me. That doesn't make him a good person. As an analogy of why Kim D is not a good person just because she's never done anything wrong to Siggy. So Margaret used it as an analogy. Now that her father would have understood. I would love to know how her dad would have replied to that. He may have said the same thing because this is his daughter. He wants her to calm down. He may have still said, okay, you just stay away from that person. But I would have liked the man to have all the facts. Then she gets to the part where she called Margaret anti-Semitic. And immediately this man, this Holocaust survivor, said, no, I don't want to accuse her of that. I love him. He understood the gravity of that word, what that means, and how you do not just throw that around. He said, I don't know what's in her heart. I would not say that. And Siggy said, but she makes me so angry. And he said, don't get into conversations with her. When you see her, be cordial, be nice, but don't get into any discussions about anything. Because look at what it's doing to you. The final scene of this episode takes place at the Gorga's new restaurant. Teresa shows up. Joe's like, can you help out at all? And she said, sure. She makes 2 cuts and a pizza. And Melissa shows up. And Teresa's acting like she was there all day. Where were you? And she's like, I said I was going to be late. I'm here before any of the guests are here, so it's fine. Joe had told Teresa that Melissa doesn't want anything to do with the restaurant. She just wants to deal with envy. And Teresa says, why didn't you just say that from the beginning? She did from the very beginning. First of all, she wasn't told he bought the restaurant. And when she was, I think she made it pretty clear she was not happy about it. And that she's got her own business to run. And trust me, she needs to spend more time at that business. Just saying. But you know, family, we're all family. Family's got to help. Okay. But that didn't really turn into anything more than just kind of a family squabble. So all the guests start arriving now. And Siggy is clearly avoiding Margaret. Prior to this, when they were getting ready, Margaret said, look, I think Siggy and I are really kind of working this out. She was the second one to reply to my birthday invitation. And she said, like, it's going to be fun, can't wait. So don't be hard on her, Mom. And Marge Sr. is like, I won't, I'll be fine. I just want to meet her. So yeah, Siggy finally shows up and she is saying hello to everybody and clearly avoiding Margaret and her mother. Finally, as the evening goes on, Marge Sr. says something about wanting to meet her. And you know, Dolores met her, said hello, and when Siggy told Dolores she didn't want to see her, even Dolores said that was kind of cold, because even if you don't like somebody that much, you at least say hello to their parents. At this point now, it's later in the evening. Marge Sr. says, I would like to meet Siggy. And Danielle was there and she said, I'll go get her. So Danielle goes over to Siggy and said, can I introduce you to Margaret's mother? And Siggy said, no, you can't. Just like that. And Danielle's like, oh, okay. And she's like, I'm hot. I think I'm going to get some air. And Danielle goes, okay. And then she said, do I have to meet her? I don't see why I have to meet her. And Danielle said, you don't. I just asked if you would. So she leaves. Danielle goes back over to Margaret and Marge Sr. and tells them, of course, that she's not willing to come over and meet her. Margaret's like, you know what? I'm the bigger person. I'm not going to rescind my invitation to my birthday party, but she better not ruin it for me. I don't understand why she's acting like this right now, but I've never thrown anybody out of my house. And Danielle goes, well, there's a first time for everything. And that's where this episode ends. And next week is the season finale already. Is it just me? This entire season went by fast. So I definitely hope you join me next week for the season finale of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe to Jill Informed if you have not done so already. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this episode, and don't forget to comment down below. I love to hear from you guys. I'll see you next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time. Bye-bye.